If the leg is the size of the head... Oh, that's weird. Have you ever struggled on drawing a figure in perspective, like drawing a figure up close from the head or feet, giving more depth to the viewer? Drawing in perspective can give a more dramatic scene, giving a more engaging approach to the viewer. In this video, I'll teach you the basics of perspective in general and how to draw the figure in perspective. Let's begin. Let's first go through the basics of 1, 2, and 3-point perspective viewpoints. This is the horizon line, also known as the viewer's eye level. This is the line between the sky and land, or water. If something is in perspective, it means things appear smaller as they get farther away. Things get farther away towards the vanishing point. A vanishing point is where all parallel lines that run toward the horizon line meet. Therefore, the vanishing point will be located at the horizon line. This is the case for 1 and 2-point perspective viewpoints. A 1-point perspective viewpoint is a viewpoint with one vanishing point. You see in 1-point perspective when you are facing a plane. No, not that plane. Yes, that. The surface area of a cube. The planes you are facing will not look distorted, so all planes you are facing will have perpendicular and parallel lines with the horizon line. A 2-point perspective viewpoint is a viewpoint with two vanishing points. You see in 2-point perspective when you are facing two planes, or a corner. The corners you are facing will not look distorted, so all corners you are facing will have perpendicular lines with the horizon line. A 3-point perspective viewpoint is a viewpoint with three vanishing points. You see in 3-point perspective when you are facing three planes, or a vertex. In 3-point perspective, two vanishing points remain on the horizon line, but one vanishing point will be above or below the horizon line. And since you are only facing one vertex, basically everything in view will look distorted. Now that we know 1, 2, and 3-point perspective viewpoints, let's draw the figure in perspective. Drawing the figure in perspective is also referred to foreshortening, because body parts farther away from the viewer look shorter and more distorted, while body parts close to the viewer look larger. Think about the cube we used for the 1, 2, and 3-point perspective viewpoints earlier on. The cube was foreshortened in perspective, turning out smaller in a distance. Likewise, draw the figure in perspective like you would with the cube. Of course, the figure is a much more complicated shape than the cube, so draw the figure in simple shapes first. I like to use a sphere for the head, cubes for the rib cage and pelvis, and cylinders for the arms and legs. Mark the proportions of the figure to get the measurements correct, and draw the figure in simple shapes at the right proportions, and then add the details. Remember that the farther away the figure is, the shorter the proportion will look. If you have this concept in mind and know the correct proportions of the figure, any pose of a figure in perspective will make sense, making it easier to draw. If you don't know the correct proportions of a figure, I made a video on proportions and basic anatomy, so you can go check it out if you want by clicking the link on the top of this guy's head. Once you can draw the figure in a standing position in perspective, challenge yourself to draw figures in different poses. Practice drawing different poses with reference. Search foreshortened reference poses on Pinterest, and you'll find a ton of figures in various poses in perspective. The surface of the figure is mostly round, the belly, the limbs, even the front of the face. So marking the proportions with curved lines will give a more realistic guideline. Some figures might be very confusing to draw due to its dramatic poses, but the curved landmarks will be very helpful because it gives more depth and volume to the figure giving a better indication and understanding of the figure's pose. Practice drawing poses you'll most likely draw. I drew poses that mostly showed the face, hands, and feet up close, so I practiced drawing these body parts more for my foreshortened figure drawings, rather than the thighs or upper arms. Knowing how to draw the figure in perspective can make a more dramatic and engaging scene. Once you know the concept of foreshortening, you will quickly progress. Foreshortening is easy. After all, the more foreshortening, the less drawing. I mean, draw more, that's good for you. Drawing more is better. You get what I mean. Have fun drawing the figure in perspective, and let's get better together. Take it easy.